We need to talk about clutter in this declutter fever going on. Did you know that on average an American home has 300,000 items? Clutter can weigh us down both physically and mentally, causing unnecessary stress and anxiety in our lives. But decluttering does not have to be as unbearable as the heaviness of clutter in our houses. If you feel burdened by the things you own, it's difficult for you to rest and relax, you probably have too much stuff in your life. People often assume that they just need to get more organized, when in reality, we are just managing way too much stuff and organizing our problems into overloaded drawers and containers. So today we're diving into the art of decluttering and how it can lead to a more stress-free life. Clutter doesn't just make a mess in your home, it also messes up your health. Research shows that clutter has an accumulative effect on the brain. The brain likes order and is in constant struggle to create peace out of chaos. And the more we overload it, the more it has to work. That overstimulation rises our cortisol levels, which you might know as our stress hormone. It also has a negative effect in the way we digest food, how we fight diseases, in our energy levels, and even how we sleep. And if this wasn't enough, it also has a tendency to increase tension between household members, especially couples, is associated with weight gain, and can even isolate us from social interactions. It's no coincidence that after decluttering, people claim to be more productive, less stressed, have more time and space for what and who's actually important in their lives. But the process of decluttering and letting go can sometimes be a bit overwhelming. So if you're struggling with this, make sure you remember that things do not have feelings. To try to focus on what you need instead of what you can get rid of. To divide areas into smaller spaces and tackle one at a time. If you're feeling overwhelmed with a certain item or a certain space, it's completely normal. Just go for a walk and get back to it. And don't forget why you are doing this. Visualize how much better your life will be after you've done the work and use this as your motivation. And finally, do not declutter other people's stuff. Even if it feels incredibly tempting, don't. Be an example instead of imposing your ideas onto others. So, what to do with the things you no longer want? As you go through your belongings and start letting go, you soon get a sense of freedom and lightness. But we also have responsibilities when it comes to decluttering. The landfill should be the last place your unwanted should end up in. You should, as much as possible, try to give your items another life or another home. So here's a simple 5-step guide on how to set your priorities when it comes to declutter. First, if the item is in good condition, you have two options: to sell or to donate. You should always try to sell your stuff first. Why? First of all, to try to get some of the money back, of course. Minimalism is not allergic to money. We're just hypochondriac when it comes to stressful situations that come with it. Second, and this one might be a little bit controversial, because it is hard work. Selling stuff, it's time and energy consuming, whether you do it on a thrift store, on a specialized store, or even online. You have to write the ad, give a price, take pictures, talk to people, ship the stuff, pack the stuff, and actually leave the house to sell the stuff. So obviously this is work. So why am I recommending it? If you go through this process often enough, you immediately start to hate it, which makes you way more aware every time you even think about buying something new. And this is the most important step when it comes to live a meaningful life, the mindset shift. You start to buy only what you actually need. Third point when it comes to selling is to not do it forever. Give yourself a time limit. For example, a month. If after the first week the item is still for sale, lower the price. After another week, lower it again. Another week, lower it again. And if after this the item is still not sold, it's time for you to consider the next step, which is donate. Remember, one person's clutter may be another one's treasure. So here's some ideas on what you can do with the items that you no longer want to keep. First, I always check with family, friends, and neighbors to see if someone is in need of something. If not, then you have a couple of options depending on the objects. For adult and baby clothing, you can consider giving it to charity and children's institutions if they are in good shape. For charity clothing donation, the item needs to be in good condition, otherwise it's just going to end up in a landfill as well. Most charities do not have the capability to deal with that much stuff and only consider the good items to resell. Otherwise, you can also give them to clothing factories, recycling programs offered by brands like Pantagonia, Levis, alternative apparel, and even some fast fashion brands like H&M. If you live in the US, you can also go to givebackbox.com/Amazon to make a donation. Just grab an old box, put your donatable clothes inside, and print out a prepaid shipping label from the website, and drop it at your nearest post office. And voila, no charges for helping. For old blankets, you can also consider giving to a children's institution if they're in good shape, or to a pet rescue center if they're not. For books, you can also donate your books that you already read to your local library, to a children's institution, or do book swaps. For electronic devices that no longer work, there are probably recycling programs for electronics in your hometown. Just do a quick research. For painting materials, sewing materials, buttons, didactic materials, games, make a donation to schools, whether they are children's schools or schools for adults. Just think of what are the type of people usually use that kind of stuff, and research places that want to take it. You're very likely making someone's day. If your items are in fairly good condition and just need a little love or a makeover, maybe it's time to get creative and try to repurpose them. When it comes to clothes, you can learn to sew holes and buttons before throwing them away. If not, you can cut them and use them as cleaning cloths. Or you can create your own clothes and designs out of the ones you already have instead of buying new ones. For glass containers, you can, for example, use them for plants, for storing food, for painting, as a piggy bank, and so on. If you're handy, use old pieces of wood to create new furniture around the house. For example, I made this out of wood people gave away. Basically, the sky is the limit. Almost everything can be reused if you have the imagination. You can always use Pinterest for ideas. Just write the name of the item and then upcycle. The only note that I have to make about this category is to contain yourself on having more than one DIY project at the same time. Otherwise, you're still keeping your clutter and adding more stress to your to-do list. How about you? Do you have any creative ideas on how to repurpose a certain item? If you do, I would love it if you share it down in the comments for us to read. Okay, next step is recycle. If your item is not in good condition, you have no idea how to fix it, and there is no association willing to take it, then you should consider recycle. People often turn to recycle as a #1 solution, but unfortunately this is far from being the best measurement. For example, paper is 68% recycled, glass, although it's 100% recycled, only 1/3 actually ends up being recycled, and shockingly, we all know this is a problem, only 9% of the plastic is actually being recycled nowadays. And let's not forget that recycling doesn't just magically happen. Even though it is better than going to the landfill, there are energy costs and also pollution associated with the process. So instead of recycling, we should be focusing on reducing our consumption and increasing the durability of our items. Hence the importance of leaving this step as one of the last resources. And finally, when nothing of the above works, it's time to trash it. This should always be a last resource because of obvious reasons. And there you have it. Decluttering does not have to be complicated. By following the simple steps, you can create a more peaceful and stress-free environment for yourself and for everyone else around you. While I still have your attention, do you have any declutter tips or any fun experiences while decluttering that you'd love to share? I'll soon have a declutter video on a particularly fun method on how to declutter, so make sure you don't miss that as well, and hit the subscribe button for more intentional and simple living content. If this video brought you any value, don't forget to hit the like button as well and share this video with someone who you think might take value out of it. Until next time, remember to stay kind to yourself and to others. And I am taking this box out of a charity shop, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye everyone.